For 3 centuries, humanity had been the galaxy's quiet neighbor. After first contact with the Velnari hegemony, a coalition of ancient, bioluminescent species that governed the local group with velvet-gloved tyranny, Earth had been granted provisional observer status. Not full membership, not even a vote, just a seat in the back of the Grand Conclave, where human diplomats listened, nodded, and swallowed their pride while the hegemony dictated trade routes, resource quotas, and cultural harmonization protocols. The official reason? Humanity was unstable, too emotional, too unpredictable, capable of great art and greater violence. The Velnari called it the duality flaw. Unofficially, they feared what they didn't understand, because while the galaxy slept in its ordered cycles of diplomacy and ritual, Earth had been watching, learning, preparing, not for war. Never for war at first. Human scientists reverse-engineered salvaged alien tech not to build weapons but to heal, to feed, to reach further. Human engineers turned asteroid belts into orbital farms. Human artists broadcast symphonies into the void, not as signals of aggression, but as invitations, and the galaxy laughed. "Cute," said the Xylos Dominion, as they seized the helium-3 mines of Titan under resource reallocation. "Adorable," sneered the Krell Syndicate, when they blockaded Mars for customs violations, after Earth refused to hand over refugee ships from a collapsed colony. "Quaint," murmured the Velnari High Speaker, as she vetoed Earth's bid for full Conclave membership, again, citing insufficient galactic maturity. Through it all, Earth held back. No retaliation. No escalation. No fleet deployments beyond the Sol system. The United Earth Defense Command, UEDC, trained in secret. Yes, but their doctrine was clear. Deterrence through restraint, until the day the Velnari came for Luna. It began with an accident. A Velnari patrol cruiser, claiming navigational error, collided with the Tycho crater biodome. 37,000 souls, scientists, children, poets, vaporized in an instant. The hegemony offered condolences, and a bill for cleanup fees. Then came the ultimatum. Earth was to cede all lunar territory, dismantle its orbital defenses, and submit to Velnari cultural oversight. Refusal would be interpreted as hostile intent. That night, every human government, every corporation, every citizen, despite centuries of division, united in silence. Not with rage, with resolve. The next morning, the Velnari received a transmission. Not from a general, not from a president, from a schoolteacher in Nairobi speaking on behalf of Earth. "You called us unstable. You called us flawed. You called us children playing with fire. You were right. We were holding back. Not because we feared you, but because we hoped you'd see us as equals. You chose to see us as threats. So now, we stopped pretending." The message ended, and the sky changed. From the Oort cloud, dormant for decades, emerged the silent armada. Not a fleet of warships, but of world ships. Each one a hollowed-out dwarf planet, wrapped in metamaterial cloaking fields, powered by zero-point reactors humanity had perfected in secret. Inside them? Not soldiers, civilians, families, engineers, artists, refugees, entire ecosystems preserved in stasis. Because humanity hadn't built an invasion force, they'd built an ark, fleet capable of outlasting any war, any siege, any extinction event, and at its heart, the Aegis Array, a network of quantum-entangled beacons that could, with a single command, collapse every artificial wormhole in the galaxy, including the ones the Velnari used to move their fleets. The hegemony panicked. Their empire relied on instantaneous travel. Cut the wormholes, and their dominion would fracture into isolated systems. Vulnerable, disconnected, dying, they demanded Earth stand down. Earth replied with silence. Then from Proxima Centauri, a human deep space colony, long thought abandoned, broadcast a live feed. On screen, a Velnari dreadnought floating dead in orbit. Not destroyed, disabled, its crew alive, unharmed, standing on the hull, waving. Turns out human hackers had spent decades embedding ethical override subroutines into every piece of shared tech the hegemony had ever sold Earth. When activated, those subroutines didn't kill. They liberated. One by one, Velnari vessels across the quadrant powered down their weapons. Their crews, exposed to decades of human media, music, films, philosophy, had begun to question, to feel, the hegemony's unity cracked. At the emergency conclave session, the Xylos and Krell delegates remained silent. They'd seen the footage. They'd run the simulations. They knew humanity hadn't just won a battle. They'd redefined the rules of war itself. Earth didn't want conquest. They wanted respect, and they'd earned it, not with fire, but with the terrifying power of choice. A week later, the Velnari High Speaker stood before the conclave, her bioluminescence dimmed in humility. She offered Earth full membership, veto rights, a permanent seat. The human ambassador, a former refugee from the Titan blockade, accepted. But before she sat down, she played one final message. Not from Earth, from the Aegis Array. It was a lullaby, sung in 1,000 languages, broadcast on every frequency. We restrained ourselves, the recording said, because we believed in peace, but never mistake restraint for weakness. We are humanity, and we are done asking for a seat at your table. Next time, we'll build our own. Across the galaxy, species that had long bowed to the hegemony began to whisper, and for the first time in millennia, the stars felt alive.